We've had a busy offseason this year, with the Korean Soup Cup and Chinese Pro Chaser Association. One of the most interesting matches so far has been between Zeta Division and Team Falcons, where Zeta came out on top. Team Falcons had won the OWCS finals in Stockholm and are considered to be the best team in the world. So how did Zeta Division win, even though their main support player Vio2lt, we'll get to Vio2lt's crimes on Lucio later. Either way, Zeta beat the strongest team in the world, and today we're gonna look at Bernard's Hazard, Zeta Division's greatest asset. The match is 2-1 in favor of Zeta Division. Team Falcons chose Hollywood as the next map and banned Ana, while Zeta Division banned Junker Queen. The Ana ban was likely to prevent any sort of Ana Hazard composition, which can be potent on Hollywood defense, and sometimes even powerful on attack if executed correctly. Zeta Division's ban on Junker Queen isn't as important, but it does take away the second best tank option in this meta, forcing Hazard. Hazard is so strong anyways, it doesn't really matter. The reason why this specific map is so interesting is because it isn't a mirror matchup. Each Hazard composition is very different and play in entirely different ways. The funny part is that such a large shift in playstyle is caused by a one hero difference. Zeta are on Juno Lucio, while Falcons are on Kiriko Lucio. Falcon's backline is the one we looked at in my last Hazard video, and it's definitely more dive oriented, but Zeta's backline is different. The Juno Lucio is a brawlier backline that has less mobility in exchange for brawl potential. That might sound a little confusing at first. How is the backline that has two speed abilities less mobile? Well, let's compare Kiriko and Juno. This is how Juno climbs a tall vertical surface, and this is how Kiriko climbs a tall vertical surface. Kiriko can also teleport to her team to assist with dives while Juno has to walk. She can use her speed ring or fly to make this faster, but you want to save those for your team, or to save yourself from your opponent's hits. If you use all your cooldowns to get in on Juno, you won't have anything to get out or keep yourself alive. With this in mind, a very logical pattern has formed in the meta. If you're on a flat map such as Saravasa, Juno Lucio is generally a good pick. You don't need the superior vertical movement and dive capabilities of Kiriko, since the brawlier playstyle is more effective. On maps with more high grounds, such as Ilios Lighthouse, Kiriko Lucio is the better pick, since you have more flexibility in your positioning and can go for more aggressive dives that a Juno wouldn't be able to follow up on. On Hollywood, I would argue Kiriko Lucio is the better pick. The only somewhat flat point is third point, and first and second point favor Kiriko, especially the second point, which significantly enables compositions with more vertical mobility. Either way, Zeta Division stick with their Juno Lucio on this map, and this is likely because they feel more confident with that variation of the Hazard comp. It's okay to work with a composition that isn't entirely optimal, as long as you understand what you need to do to make it work. Zeta Division start on defense, and immediately during this match, we learn an important lesson about how you need to play this first point in this matchup. Trying to play inside of the cafe and kiting into it can end very badly, as we've seen in my last video. So the best teams don't do this. Instead, Zeta play on the back of the point, baiting Falcons. This creates more distance for Smurf's Hazard to cross to reach Zeta's backline, and also creates two key areas that Zeta's frontline will fight to control. The first area is the cafe, and the second is the first high ground on the right-hand side. Bernard's Hazard and Pelican's Genji will be the first line of defense covering these positions. This is a great example of why good positioning is entirely dependent on the conditions present. Placing your backline in cafe is a good play if you're playing a Winston on a Brig mirror, but the same position is weaker against the Hazard composition because of how easy it is for the entire opposing team to close the distance and take control of the cafe. This is the kind of mistake that gets players hard stuck. You play a certain way and be rewarded for it without understanding why, and then when you do the same exact thing again, you're punished for it because the conditions of the match were different. The first fight opens with a rail shot from Flora taking Chio out of the fight. Team Falcons know that they need to trade and get a kill of their own, so they fully commit. Smurf leaps in, landing a slash onto Vio2lt's Lucio, with Proper finishing the kill. Filter was also able to kill Finn, so Zeta Division have lost their backline. Bernard's response to the dive was to play to punish, walling Smurf from his team and taking him down, making the fight even. The fight enters a stalemate. Falcons struggle to push without their Hazard, so they wait for Smurf to return. During the stalemate, Flora rotated to the cafe to get some extra poke, and so Proper moves in to punish. Flora escapes, but Vio2lt flies into the cafe and explodes just about as quickly as he arrived. Yes, it's bad enough that we need a counter to keep track today. That pick was decisive for Falcons, and after cleaning up Bernard and Pelican, they move on to the second point. Falcons quickly push up to the forward high ground position closer to Zeta's spawn. They want to control this early on because Falcons understand that Zeta struggled to attack high ground positions with the Juno-Lucio backline. Falcons leave their Lucio player Chio to push the cart. Flora and Finn play further back on top of jail, while our main character Bernard pushes to contest the high ground. Finn throws a supporting speed ring, but must keep his distance. Falcons go for a singular hit, with Bernard responding with a wall to try and isolate Smurf. Smurf matches with his own wall to block Bernard, and then Falcons retreat, deciding not to commit to the 4v5 while lacking ultimates. Proper still works to control the elevator, trying to prevent Zeta from moving their backline, but Bernard marks him with a slash. This is where our beloved Vio2lt decides to re-peek the Sojourn that he knows is there. There is no sane explanation for this. Stalker missed his first rail shot, but Vio2lt still decides that he is a non-threat and gets his head blown off when he's 98% to beat. No! Falcons rush in looking to follow up. Bernard starts by slashing Smurf in the back, playing to punish. Finn then looks for a counterattack, dropping the orbital ray. Zeta Division need a kill here, but they aren't able to find one due to Chio's beat. Bernard is forced to back away and play for one last fight on second point. On the initial engage, Bernard plays to fight over the high ground, dueling Smurf. The difference that I've noticed between Bernard and other Hazard players is that he's more willing to play for positioning rather than just running at the opposing backline and hoping for the best. To start, we'll see Bernard playing for positioning, and then from there, he'll either punish the opposing Hazard or go after a squishy target. In this case, Bernard sees Chio, slashing him and getting him very low. While this is happening, Smurf drops on top of Finn from the sky, finishing the kill. Juno is super vulnerable in these situations where she can't play further away and is trying to deal with opponents on the high ground. Smurf also uses Root, which hits Bernard, but Vio2lt is able to use Beat, at 1 HP of course, and then Bernard uses his own ult to root Smurf in place. Smurf attempts to wall to save himself, but Bernard finishes him off, while Pelican uses his blade to kill Stalker. Bernard climbs back up onto the high ground, hunting Falcon's remaining backline. He slashes and kills Proper, and Flora cleans up the rest. Zeta won this fight, but it was costly. The next ultimate they need to worry about is Proper's blade. This is where Kiriko Lucio comes in handy for Falcons. When attacking the second point, it is much easier for them to play to attack the high ground, since their entire team, with the exception of Sojourn, can attack the high ground from different angles and aren't forced to use the elevators. Smurf obtains the first kill, and of course, it's on Vio2lt. With a quick slash combo, Smurf sends Vio2lt flying back to the spawn room. This one is a little more explainable, but still a mistake on Vio2lt's part. Vio2lt was looking for boops on Falcons to help control the high ground, but you always have to keep Hazard in mind. If you play within range of his slash, you can and will be hit with the one-shot combo if you aren't cautious. Right after Vio2lt's death, Bernard dives in onto Chio, finding the kill. The trade was good and well timed, but Bernard had also isolated himself from his team, and he wasn't able to get back before Stalker took him out. This wasn't the worst play ever and potentially could have worked if the rest of Zeta could follow through and play to trade, but a split formed and Zeta kited away rather than playing aggressively to trade. This split could have occurred due to a miscommunication, or just Bernard playing a bit too fast at an awkward moment. Falcons are up one, so Smurf attempts to dive on Zeta's backline, but is hit with a boot from Vio2lt and takes too much damage, dying very quickly. Proper is ready to follow up though, first killing Vio2lt, who is focused on Smurf, and then Flora with the blade. He attempts to chase Finn, but his first slash misses and Finn escapes. This one mistake allows Zeta to re-engage with their orbital ray. Finn drops it from behind the wall, and Zeta push through the door. This is where we see one of the best kite maneuvers I've seen in a while. With Falcons disengaging so fast, it almost seemed like they were never there. Fighting an orbital array head-on at a disadvantage is essentially impossible, and so this disengage was incredibly important as it allows Falcons to quickly regroup with Smurf and then re-engage quickly. Unfortunately, due to Vio2lt quickly dying on repeat, Zeta Division do not have their beat while Falcons do. Chio was able to build it first, with Vio2lt 35% behind. Falcons use this beat aggressively, running down the less mobile Sojourn and especially Juno. Proper obtains the kill onto Finn, while Smurf focuses on chasing Flora. Zeta Division trade Chio, but Falcons have such an advantage that coming back in this fight would be near impossible. Falcons move on to the third point. Bernard sees Smurf on the high ground, and he understands that he cannot allow Falcons to control that position if Zeta Division want to advance. Bernard leaps over the gap, turning to slash Proper. The goal is to clear this position, and once Bernard succeeds, he backs off, dropping down to the corner. Bernard's next move is to leap forwards once again for another slash. He sees that Smurf has been forced to use his leap, so Bernard knows that he can push in without the potential of a counter hit from Falcons. Bernard stays to stop Cart for a moment, but quickly leaves, anticipating the aggressive re-engage from Falcons. Now we have a battle over the corner, and this is where both teams are most likely to use their ultimates. Bernard goes for a risky slash on Proper, but he's able to use his block to survive. Smurf uses his root, which barely misses Bernard, but lands on Pelican, who had just popped Blade. And then Vio2lt uses Beat, Stalker uses Overclock, and Fielder uses Kitsune. Unfortunately, the Beat didn't hit Pelican, who dies while rooted. Through this chaos, Bernard also uses his own root, which catches Smurf as well as Stalker from around the corner. Bernard leaps forward to insta-kill the ulting Sojourn, but Proper and Chio pull back to peel, taking him out. Smurf is able to survive the root with his block and with the support of the Kitsune, so Team Falcons win this fight, slightly staggering the backline of Zeta, who fail to escape. The next fight starts with, you gotta be kidding me, Vio2lt, again? Stalker then gets cross-mapped by a kunai from Fielder and Team Falcons. Yeah, they just kind of win this fight for free, completing the map with 1 minute and 22 seconds.
그냥 본인은 액션맨으로 흘려주네요. 이대로 화물 들어갑니다. 남은 시간 1분 22초. 팔콘 3점 가져갑니다.
Don't worry though, Bernard pulls out the Hazard Masterclass for this first point. This might be some of the best Hazard gameplay I've seen so far. Falcons have a similar setup, playing to bait point and positioning near the back of point. Bernard swings out wide to the right side next to the cafe. The first step Bernard takes in a fight is typically to take positioning. This is similar to how you don't jump straight in on Winston, you use a setup jump to get the correct positioning before you hit. Instead of advancing and attacking Falcon's backline, Bernard switches his focus when he notices that Smurf has used his leap to try and take the initial high ground. Bernard leaps to mark this move, knowing that Smurf can drop on Zeta's backline if left uncontested. Bernard hits his wall at just the right moment, trapping Smurf, and this forces Suzu out of Fielder, which is absolutely worthwhile. When Smurf backs away, Bernard immediately resumes his position besides Cafe, and his opportunity comes in the form of Proper playing a little forward. Bernard slashes him, forcing the deflect, and this also creates a bit of space for Zeta to advance. Bernard throws the wall to block Falcons and slow the re-engage, and then Bernard slashes Stalker. Zeta Division push off of Bernard's slash, but Flora apparently believes he is invincible, because why is he here? Proper is able to kill Pelican and then dash to chase Flora. These two kills win the fight for Falcons, but Bernard still gets his one, taking Stalker with him on the way out. Another pattern with Bernard's play that shows during this fight is his target focus. His first slash is often dedicated to Smurf's Hazard or Proper's Genji. Hazard and Genji are the two heroes that are best at controlling space in this meta, so that's why Bernard is often fighting them for valuable positions on the map. Clearing the Hazard or Genji might provide opportunities to go after targets that are further away, such as Sojourn, Kiriko, or Lucio, in order of priority of course. That's why Bernard generally approaches fights this way, although there will be some exceptions and this isn't a hard rule. Bernard makes the same exact move to start the next fight, swinging wide and then hits an insane wall to knock Chio out of the sky. He manages to get the slash off and Flora finishes the kill. Next, Bernard looks to mark Proper, who is the immediate threat, forcing him to dash away. Bernard notices that Stalker has kited into an awkward position through the cafe, and in that position, Stalker doesn't have good LOS. As long as Bernard can keep an eye on Stalker, he cannot push to the cafe to regroup with his team and, it would be certain death if he tried. Smurf rotates up onto the high ground to look for a hit on Zeta's backline, but Zeta see it coming from a mile away, kiting it easily and taking Smurf down. When Bernard turns back, he realizes Stalker has pushed back up, so he immediately climbs up to force him back inside. As Falcons attempt to disengage, Bernard drops the root, which he uses to kill Proper. Zeta Division break through the first point, partially due to a massive hazard diff. Now for the real challenge. Zeta Division are running Juno Lucio. Trying to take the high ground from Falcons is essentially impossible unless certain conditions are met, so their best possible option is almost always to force the cart on the low ground. This is going to be difficult because engaging from high ground is super easy for Falcons. This places Flora's Sojourn and Finn's Juno in serious danger. Bernard starts by going for soft hits on the high ground. The goal isn't to look for kills, it's to farm his own ultimate to try and force cooldowns from Falcons. Bernard repeatedly slashes Smurf, looking looking to get a foothold on the high ground. Eventually, Smurf gets fed up and decides to throw himself into the center of Zeta, attempting to slash Flora. He also does this at half HP. I do not understand what is going through the old man's head. Zeta hits Smurf with everything they have. Finn drops the orbital ray, and Bernard slashes Smurf in the back. Smurf is able to block just enough damage, dropping to 30 HP before Chio's beat bails him out. Well, never mind, he dies anyways. He was completely cooked no matter how much support Falcons could provide. On the way out, Smurf was able to land his root, and Proper uses his blade to follow up. Bernard did manage to survive, playing safe in the cafe to allow Zeta to regroup. Although that was a fight win for Falcons, it was an ult economy loss. Both teams used their support ultimates, but Falcons also used their blade and root on top of that. This leaves Zeta with the advantage going into the next fight. First, Bernard clears Proper off the cart. Falcons position their core further back on the high ground, so Bernard plays slowly for now. Bernard pushes the cart while the rest of Zeta follow close behind. Bernard can't reach the backline just yet, so he uses his next slash to pressure Smurf. Now for the difficult part. Zeta must get the cart underneath the high ground while under constant pressure from above. Smurf makes the first move, looking to slash Flora, but Vio2lt knocks him off course. Flora slides and pops the overclock, and Proper dashes down to try and take him out, but he fails to do so.
그렇죠. 메인 딜러 중요했다. 한 방이에요. 제대로 합니다. 여기도 한 건 하네요.
That was the fight that Zeta Division needed to win, the hardest section of Hollywood for Juno Lucio. Now that they've broken through, their chances of winning have risen exponentially. I also want to highlight that Vio2lt was the silent carry during this fight, booping Smurf, which made the slash harder to hit, and then also using amp speed to allow Flora to escape Proper's Genji and move freely. But of course, in Vio2lt fashion, he does die. We'll give him a pass for this one though. If Zeta win this fight, they will take the second point. Bernard positions up high, scanning to see which path Falcons will take. Falcons rotate in through right side to take control of Jail, and Bernard takes the top of Jail. Smurf slashes him, forcing him away, but Pelican uses the blade aggressively, knowing that Falcons lack any ultimates to counter the engage. Pelican slashes Chio, and Bernard finishes the kill with a quick slash. Fielder teleports to Chio, so Bernard takes him out as well. Falcon's ultimate economy was completely ruined by that first fight on second point, and that has allowed for a snowball from the second fight into the third. Zeta Division have 4 minutes to finish the map. Bernard starts on the high ground, not much of a surprise, and drops to pressure a bit before leaping and grabbing onto a light? Yeah, you can wall climb on the studio lights. I did not know that until now. Again, we have the pattern of focusing on controlling space when the opposing backline is out of reach. Bernard drops to slash Smurf and Proper, who are in an aggressive position on the Mega. The next important location to take is the back left area of the map. If Zeta control that, they can push the cart up to the choke point. Bernard makes a setup jump onto the high ground, and then Smurf does it again! What are we doing? This is why we do not immediately jump backline targets. Hazard might be giga busted and hyper broken, but you are not invincible. Proper absolutely ints with Blade, wanting to get a trade to try and even out the fight, and actually manages to find Flora. Vio2lt's beat was too late to save Flora, but Zeta did use it to advance. Bernard forces Fielder to TP away, and then he uses his root to try and catch the backline of Falcons. Fielder did Suzu it, but it seems like Chio used the beat out of fear that it would land. Bernard returns to his team to focus on defense. Smurf had dove in with Proper, and although Proper escapes, Bernard traps Smurf with a wall. Smurf is able to leap away to escape, and then Bernard keeps his focus on clearing frontline, attempting a slash on Proper. He does escape, but then Flora lands a rail shot on Chio, so Bernard goes for the slash and misses. Smurf continues to surprise me with new and interesting tactics, such as climbing a wall, wasting his slash to climb slightly higher up the wall, and then dropping down right on top of point in front of Zeta. Although Smurf attempts a panicked escape, Bernard slashes him in the back, and this was the winning blow.
펠리컨도 준비 완료. 스토크가 먼저 오면 클락. 제타 흘려야 돼요. 흘려야 돼요. 스토크 잡혔어요. 좀 더. 흘렸어요. 각이에요. 플로라. 다시 한 번. 와, 플로라. 이러면 외치죠. 영우야. 제타님이 동점 만들어냅니다. 시간도 더욱더 확보합니다.
With both teams completing the map with enough time, it will continue to a round 3 and round 4. Zeta Division are back on defense and stick with the same strategy as always. Flora opens the first fight with a shot on Stalker, and Bernard slashes to attempt to punish Falcons who int the trade. Proper manages to find the trade on Flora, but Zeta bite back with a kill on Fielder. Unfortunately, Zeta's backline completely collapses at the end of this fight, and Bernard was too far away to help. Zeta decided not to attempt the re-engage. It would have been possible, but trying to attack the cafe makes for a really easy slash and wall from Smurf's Hazard. Zeta don't have any ultimates to force their way through that kind of pressure. Instead, Zeta set up close by the choke, aiming to take an early fight and stop Falcon's progress quickly. Bernard swings to the left side of the cart, and then Flora hits a key rail shot on Stalker, prompting Bernard to leap in and finish the kill. Chio uses beat to save Stalker, and then Vio2lt... Oh no.
오! 헤드! 물렸어요! 캔슬됐어요! 자, 결국에는 교환 다시 한번 팔콘이 유리하게 가져갑니다. 여기서 비트 캔슬이요? 아니, 바이올렛이 비트인데 캔슬이 된다고요? 아니...
Zeta waste no time for their next fight, with Bernard moving to stop cart immediately. Finn drops the Orbital Ray, which in overtime situations is super strong, because the best way to beat Orbital Ray is to, well, you know, run away from it. Usually the hazard composition is good at that, but now that's not an option. You can't run away when someone needs to be on point. Smurf uses this route immediately, which is one of the best counters Hazard Comp has against Orbital Ray, since teams tend to clump on top of the orbital. Bernard matches with his own though, and catches Smurf, preventing him from following up on his own route. And then, oh, seriously Falcons? Okay, what is going on with this match? This is supposed to be the best team in the world, and this is the third best team in the world. What is happening? Zeta Division switch over to attack for the final round. They have a little under 2 minutes to match Falcons, which is unfortunately very difficult due to Vio2lt's mistake. Falcons play far back and Zeta open with a speed ring. Bernard swings out and his focus is initially on Proper, the only member of Falcons on an angle. Vio2lt, that is Stalker. He has rail shot. Vio2lt, stop. No, stop. Stop peeking. Bernard is pissed. He leaps in needing to find a trade and takes Fielder. He keeps going with a leap towards Chio and finishes him off with a well-placed wall. After that, it was easy to kill Smurf, and then Bernard leaps back to help take down Stalker and Proper. This match is insane. We have John Hazard, and then we have a performance from Vio2lt on Lucio comparable to PGE on Eichenwald. Now for the final fight, and we're back at a familiar location. This is going to be a tough one for Zeta. Everything needs to go right to win here. Falcons go for their engage, diving onto Flora and Finn, with Vio2lt just barely saving them with a perfectly timed beat. Unfortunately, Team Falcons then get the better beat and play extremely aggressively, killing Flora. Bernard drops the root, but it finds nothing, and at this point, even with the Orbital Ray, it was just too difficult for Zeta Division to find trades.
위쪽으로 올라가는 펠리컨 버텨야죠. 막혔고 태워는 됐고 뛰어낼 때 이거 바이올렛 3비트 찍게 만드느냐 마느냐요. 바이올렛 3비트 눌렀어요. 이 발콘 태워. 자 가서 멘티도 용감도. 플로라 팀 바이올렛 다 잡아냅니다. 올 세트 열어라. 끝까지 가자. 이렇게 팀팔콘 네 번째 세트를 가져갑니다. 야 이게 펠리칸의 액션까지는 괜찮았는데 그 밑에 내려오는 거는.
Yes, I decided to cover the losing team for this map, and I did it because this is still one of the best Hazard performances I've seen. This performance might have looked better due to Smurf seeming completely lost, but either way, it seems that Bernard may be the best Hazard player in the world. There's honestly only one Hazard player that's on the same level as Bernard, or maybe even higher, and that's Max, who plays Hazard for Crazy Raccoon. Zeta Division would go on to win the 5th map and take the series, but seriously, this may have been one of the most unhinged matches of the entire year. Thank you, Vio2lt.
가져가는 건 제타님이 전입니다.
As a final note to end things off on, this was Smurf's second to last match, and he retired after Falcons were eliminated in this tournament. He's leaving to complete his required Korean military service. Although he did have a rough time on the Hazard, he did legitimately play well in the Malga meta, and he played well leading up to Stockholm, so you have to give him credit there. That's it for this video. This was much longer than I expected it to be, but that's how it goes sometimes. I appreciate all the support lately, thank you so much, and if you're interested in more content from me, check out this Genji analysis video on my second channel. I look at the playstyle utilized in the Hazard matchup. It's pretty cool. If you want early videos or just want to support me, also check out the Ko-fi page, and finally, join me for live analysis and tournament co-streams on Wednesday evenings and Saturday and Sunday afternoons, Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.